Welcome
Welcome
back,
back,
everyone.
everybody. Hey guys, welcome to episode 4 of Up Past. And as you see, it's not fucking dark outside. It is 12:52 Eastern Standard,
Listen,
and
it's midnight somewhere.
it truly is. We decided that we were going to do the podcast in the morning. We were going to record last night. Dale got stuck on a documentary, which I just watched, pretty badass, um, about the goddesses in Nepal. Pretty interesting. If you haven't watched it, look it up. It's goddesses in Nepal. This is going to be a nostalgia one. I know we've been down that rabbit hole, but it's kind of something we love. I know somebody put up on our Discord that about to talk about Marvel and stuff, our favorite Marvel and comics.
We'll be doing that one. That one's just going to take a little more
That's
prep.
going to take a deep dive because I'm so bad with comics, guys. It's not that I don't like reading; it's just I can't afford it. So I need to sit down and go. Okay.
You gotta do what I do. Basically, just go look up comic book reader articles, and also somebody suggested like free. There's a free comic book reader website. There you go. Readcomiconline.li. Not a sponsor. Nobody go getting this website taken down, please.
No, please.
It's probably also full of
malware, adware. So
yeah, but it's right now it's fine.
Turn on your virus scanning software.
Young children don't go on that page, please. Yeah. There's a lot of questionable ads.
Are you a boy or a girl? It's like none of your business.
Don't tell your parents we told you to look at this page.
No, please don't.
But this page, there are some pages out there. If you guys have a better website where we can read online comics, please,
that would be good.
Go ahead and send us an email and stuff.
I need to deep dive. Well, X-Men's gonna be my number one, but your friend asked, or friend on Discord asked,
and I know we're gonna have people bitching about like, well, why don't you just pay for the comics? Listen,
broke,
no job here.
Very
and
minimal.
Also, yeah, some comics. I'm not gonna lie, some comics right now, what's going on in the comic industry, not worth the money that you're paying for a single issue. I will support them, but the way I support them is I buy graphic compendiums. Once the series is done, I'll get like a compendium of the volumes of what I actually want to read, as opposed to single issues, because yes, I get it, single issues keep the stories going, support them, yada yada, but sometimes, you know what, you gotta think,
financially,
where can I spend my money right now?
Yeah,
and I feel like comics definitely got to develop a little more past that. I know they have digital subscriptions now and stuff like that. I need to deep dive more into those. Yeah, I need to dive more into those, but still, it's
still very expensive. Like Comixology, I use it, and Nook had a thing where you could share. However, when you're talking about like $3.99, that shit adds up really, really fast.
Yeah. If you're spending $5 per issue, and 5 issues are already $25. Not including tax. Yeah, the tax, that's like about $30. And if it's a story that's like 25 issues, you're looking at quite a bit of pocket change.
I went with Ernesto recently to a comic shop, what I need to get a hold of and see if they'll sponsor us. But he went in and he has ones that are already kind of pre-bought, so they already had it ready for him. I think his bill was about $50, and I'm like, that's a good lunch right there. And he's like, dude, don't do it. He's like, I'm telling you, kid, don't do it.
Yeah, those are the ones where you subscribe to certain issue, like a certain story that you want. I used to do that at Coliseum.
Coliseum, yeah. I need to get there and do that.
There was just this one comic series that they were doing it for me for, and it was only because Wally West had come back to DC, and I really love Wally West, so I was just like, I gotta know what's going on with my boy.
He's the only one for me.
Well, I'm super stoked because they announced that Blue Beetle movie's coming out, but it's not Ted Cord Blue Beetle, who is like the OG Blue Beetle. It's the younger one, the Mexican Jaime Reyes. Jaime Reyes. Let me say it the white way. Jaime Reyes.
I think Reyes.
Yeah. Well, technically, in the US, like cartoons and stuff, people will know him as Jamie Reyes, but his name is Jaime. And he is like my Blue Beetle. I love him to death. Ted Cord is great. Don't get me wrong. All the Boostle fans, don't come at me, please. I love him, but he did his time. He died. We now have my little Mexican boy. He deserves to be in the spotlight. Give him love. Please support whatever movie happens with him because I need more of him.
Call it. Please sponsor us, by the way. Hey, I'm calling it out on Front Street, man. I'm not gonna hold this in. I am not
That'd
holding.
Be funny. That'd be funny if they just go, "We'll support you because you said his name right."
Wouldn't that be funny? It's like she said my name correctly.
Oh my god. Oh my god. No, but we're doing a slight nostalgia. It's not super nostalgia today.
No, it's not.
It's more we're going along the line of all our past consoles that we've owned.
Right. We kind of did that in the
games
beginning.
We enjoyed.
We did it in the beginning, and I know you guys would be like, what the they've already went down. Well, it's kind of a thing we love, and we
didn't really go that far.
No, we just kind of picked out things that we liked.
We just kind of we skimmed the surface of some games that we played and that we liked in our childhood, but we didn't touch deeper into the whole how many consoles we owned and what were our games of choice per console, because just because I have certain nostalgia games doesn't mean this is all I played,
right, or
this is all I ever owned. Because yes, the PS1 was technically my first console that was mine, but before a PS1 I actually played Atari.
Yep. Same.
And I played my cousin's N64, which I did touch on. I played his N64. I played Diddy Kong Racing on his N64. But before that, I had my dad's Atari, and it was technically mine as well. And I played a few hours on it. I didn't play too much on it. I was very young, and a lot of those games were kind of confusing.
The Atari controls weren't like, not like today. Like you have a, you had a stick, and you had up, down, left, right. Now it was pretty much it, and a shoot button, and maybe a pause button. That was it. And you stuck your cartridge in, you fired it up on your CRT or your big ass TV that your parents had, and that was your joy. And it was the minimal colors that they had, and the sound of do 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 do. So you didn't have much. You had much of imagination of like do 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 do.
Not to mention, once you started using the more modern stuff like the N64 and the PS1, you saw like the lag that the Atari control sometimes had. Let me tell you, I'm a big fan of Pitfall, but wow, that little lag between you pressing the button and it actually doing the jump. Exactly. You got to perfect those little lags, and then you start once you've played more modern systems and you go back, you notice those little things that don't make it as enjoyable as it once was.
That was me with arcade cabinets, because we used to go up to New York. I live in New York, and we had this thing called the Beach Store. We used to have our camp there, and they had like 5 or 6 arcade games like Punch Out and Pong and shit. And then you had to learn how to handle the sticks, because some people would grease it up on purpose, because they were like, oh, if you hit it this way at a perfect angle, it's gonna bring you up here. You do a millisecond faster, and I'm like, oh, there's an art to this shit. And they're like,
yeah. Yeah, there was.
There was an art to it back in the day, and the Atari was my first. It was absolutely your first. And then we're gonna go down this list because I have a lot. You have a lot.
What did you play on Atari? My dad had no joke. My dad had about 50 game cartridges, but I barely remember
same
5 of them that I played, because even my dad would look at them and
you didn't know.
He would just kind of go, probably don't play this one because I don't even remember it. And it was, or he'd put it in and even he was like, I don't remember how to play this. Because back then, not all of those games came with game guides.
Yeah, and
or they wouldn't tell you how to play them.
The thing with Atari that I do know, and this is my fucking geekness coming out, was Nolan Bushnell. Pretty much they just had a lot of homebrews and a lot of this. They were just giving their licensing out to anybody who would make games for Atari, because it started up in the arcade cabinet and then it went into the home arcade thing, because remember, Nintendo wasn't a thing yet. Nintendo didn't happen until a little bit later after Atari. So Nolan Bushnell and all those guys from Atari were just handing it out to anybody. That's why you saw games like E.T. and stuff like that. So I guess the games that I played obviously would be Pac-Man, Pong, Space Invaders, Asteroids, Dig Dug, and Tetris were my top. Those are my top ones that I played, because Pitfall I did play a lot with my mom and stuff like that. But those were my for Atari. Space Invaders played a hell of a ton of that, and that had skill involved because it got faster and faster as you went. And then I found out through the Atari documentary that apparently if you played so far into Atari or not Pac-Man, it would glitch because the memory couldn't hold out on the arcade cabinet, so you would glitch. So you would have to remember where things were. The screen would just go wild. And I found that it's on Netflix. The guy did get called out. I forget the guy who held the record for that, and that's how they found out. Like, oh, he was the heads up, but he was actually cheating as he was doing it because he used an emulator or some shit like that. Long story about that, but those are my top for the Atari. I mean, I did love Pac-Man. Asteroids was fun. I did love Dig Dug because that had skill into it too, and we all love Tetris, obviously. That story about Tetris, I'd recommend you guys watch that story because that poor guy in Russia. Wow, that's a deep one. That's a deep dive.
Gosh, I think Frogger was my biggest thing besides Pitfall. And also I remember there was like Looney Tunes games on Atari. So I remember very specifically playing the Tasmanian Devil game. I don't even remember what it was about. I just remember playing it. And then there was like a Bugs Bunny one. But those were the ones I mostly played because I was young and I, figuring that thing out. I remember putting in Q*bert. And I could never figure out what the hell I was supposed to do in Q*bert. Like you put it in and it wouldn't respond. It wouldn't do anything. And I'm just like, what am I supposed to do with Q*bert?
Yeah.
So I would just kind of like not touch Q*bert for years. I got mad because I was like, I don't understand what is the point of Q*bert.
Yeah. I mean,
but yeah, I don't have a large memory of
we don't know
Atari. It's just certain things.
I mean, I love the logo. That logo, whenever I see it, brings back good memories of like, you're a nerd, you're a geek.
Yeah. I have an Atari like sweatshirt, like a pullover sweatshirt, just because it's nostalgic. It makes my dad happy when I wear it. So
it's all for you, Dad.
Basically.
I love you, Dad.
I mean, he once did a dental job for somebody, and in exchange, they offered him cash, but he was like, he looked at the TV and they had an unopened, those newer Atari consoles that come with the games embedded in it.
Oh, yeah.
And he looked at it and he was like, you guys using that? And they're like, no, you want it? And he was like, so I'll do the dental job for like $50 in that system. And so he did. And he came home with the system, and I'm just staring at him like, what?
Yeah.
He was so happy though. He plugged it in right away and he played.
Listen, if somebody had like a PS5 or like an Xbox Series X, I'd be like, $50 net.
I mean, if they gave it to you, I don't know. PS5 right now is like toilet paper last year.
I mean, I don't even. Y'all know what I paid for my shit. Everybody's like, "You gonna write that off?" I'm like, "I'm writing that off in taxes."
Oh my god, you gotta teach me how to write things off.
I'm using it as a well. We'll talk about that off camera.
Yeah, because I don't know how to do things.
Well, I've got you, my love. I've got you. So our next console would be for me the NES, regular NES. And my story about that, how we got it, we didn't get it till later on. So it came out in 1989, 1980. Everybody's gonna be like, wrong. I'm like, okay, I'm sorry, I'm wrong on the date. But how we got it was Christmas. My dad, we lived in an apartment, and my dad went out, apparently got it from a cousin or whatever. And our first game was Super Mario Bros. And my list from there was Mario Bros. Very first game we had on Christmas, Super Mario 3, which was the shit. Because you had the pull down menu, and oh my god, if you didn't have your life set correctly. Contra, I played hours of that, and for those who are Contra fans and Konami fans, we learned the Konami code, didn't we? And the Konami code is, what is it, guys? Up, up, down, down, left, right, B, A, start, which gave you extra lives in the Konami game if you knew it, which I didn't know. And that's why I kept dying. Duck Hunt. We played hours of that, my family. It was just our thing. And one of my favorite games I played at my grandparents' house was Mike Tyson's Punch Out, which is now Punch Out. That shit was hard. Hard. And then it would freeze, and then it would get the damn blue screen that as you're there, and you're like, you had to remember the freaking passcode, so you'd have to write them down on a piece of paper as a freaking 8-year-old, and you're like, okay, the code to Mike Tyson is. And then Glass Joe, you'd have to like punch the damn buttons and thing. And then my last one was Turtles Through Time was my favorite one too. Those are my ones for NES.
I never had an NES.
Delmarie.
Listen, I wasn't a gamer when I was very young. I was that typical little girl who rode bikes, climbed trees, played with Barbies and My Little Ponies, and watched Strawberry Shortcake and Rainbow Bright all day.
I want your life.
Oh, and Barney. I watched a lot of Barney.
Damn right we did.
A lot of Barney.
Don't. I'm not going to judge you because we all did. It was either me and Mr. Rogers, Sesame Street, or Barney. And like I said, I fell in love with Thomas the Tank Engine because I'm all in the set design. Because George Carlin was the conductor, and how could you not watch George Carlin?
I only ever watched 2 episodes of Thomas the Tank Engine.
That was my shit.
I mean, I'll admit I'm that kid who never saw Dragon Tales. Everybody would talk to me about Dragon Tales, and I was older when I first saw like one episode of it on TV, and I was like, I don't get it. Like I watched it, and I guess maybe because I was older, it didn't impact me.
I had to watch it because we didn't have.
And then I remember people telling me about Bananas in Pajamas, and I never saw a single episode because I never knew where the heck they showed that.
No, a lot of it was in syndication, so that was weird.
Yeah.
What was your next console?
Mine was the PS1. Okay. Before the PS1, I did play, like I said, my cousin's N64. I didn't play a lot of games. I played Diddy Kong. I played Banjo-Kazooie. I wanted to play the Castlevania, but he didn't have it.
Oh.
I don't remember what else he had on that console, to be fair. But I know I didn't play a lot of stuff other than Diddy Kong. That was like the one thing he would let me play.
Sad. I hate when they do that. Like, you ever like, can I play that? Or like, nah. I was like,
yeah, he was just like, no, you can't play this thing. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, because it had to be a 2-player game all the time because you can't play alone. And
well, no, he would let me play alone. He just didn't want me playing. I think he just had more mature games probably for the N64, and he just didn't want me playing them.
Right.
Also, being a little cousin, he was probably terrified I was going to break it.
Oh God, that fun fact about me, my family will attest to this. Apparently, I had the weirdness of pulling out the damn start button out of the controller. I don't know why. Okay. I would get the shitty controllers. I'm like, why would I? And my cousins keep telling me I would do that. I don't believe it, but I probably did once.
You were just like, let me see how to put it together again.
I guess my cousins are like, you were always pulling out the stupid start button. I'm like, I don't know why.
Maybe you were just fascinated by the start button.
Probably. I don't know why. I don't know. My next console, guys, is Super Nintendo, so Super NES, Super Mario World. Obviously amazing if you haven't played it. Donkey Kong Country, obviously amazing. X-Men. Love that damn game. I found that actually we didn't get that till later. My uncle found it he was dumpster diving, and apparently he found a whole NES with like 100,000 games. So I was like,
oh wait, I do remember. I did play one other game on the N64. I played Yoshi's Story.
That was good.
I actually really enjoyed it. For a second, I was like, did I not play this Fever Dream pastel-y colored thing? And I was like, oh yeah, it was Yoshi.
Yoshi was the shit though, because when Super Mario 3 came out, Super Mario World, sorry. That was like the thing. The first level when you get Yoshi, you're like, oh. Okay. F-Zero was another one. Street Fighter, obviously, and then Stunt Racers, for those who don't know what that is. You play as a car with eyeballs and you're racing around tracks, and it was just fun. Played it at my grandparents' place a lot. So
I know for PS1, the games that I most played was Chrono Cross. I am fascinated by Chrono Cross. Those who don't know, that's the spiritual sequel to Chrono Trigger, which I have still never played. Sad me. I would if I had the funds to buy it. Every time it goes on sale, I forget, and then I'm just like, I have no money.
Make a list.
But Chrono Cross I love because it had so many characters that you could hire, and then there was that thing where you had to do multiple save files because if you picked up one character, you had to miss out on a different character.
Mm.
And so like I would look up guides obsessively because I wanted all the characters that I wanted. So I had to look up how to get them. And also I still have the CD soundtrack because it is that good of a soundtrack still to this day.
I need to hear this.
You do. It's a really good soundtrack. Legend of Dragoon was another one that I played obsessively. The final boss, I still remember, took like 3 hours to get through.
Oh wow.
It was really bad. The cutscenes of him evolving to his next phase, because it was like 8 phases, but then you didn't fight like 3 of them. It was just a video thing, and it just took forever. There was no way to skip it. So there were times I would just walk away while the animation was happening.
Some of those
and
games
I would just go get like a drink or something, and I'd come back and he'd still be at it, and I'm like, oh my god.
I don't know why
like if you died, you would have to start over, and it was just
Sony.
God,
for some reason, once they found out they could do video, they were like, "We're going to add video and everything, and you're not going to be able to skip it." And you're like, "Huh?"
No, yeah, that was the one thing I was just like, I want to skip. But I did love Legend of Dragoon. It's still a classic to me.
I need to look at this game because keep that down for me because I need to.
Which one, Legend of Dragoon?
Yeah.
Oh, it's really good. I know a lot of people didn't like it because the battle system was very unique. It had a little symbol in the middle of the screen.
Well, I just want to see the story.
These rings going around, and you would have to time your hits for the blows to actually hit in combat.
Ooh.
So yeah, for me it was fun. Not a lot of people. I liked it because I also played a lot of rhythm games. Yeah. Because my first games for the PS1 technically were Parappa the Rapper.
Yep.
And Jammer-Lammy.
Punching, kicking, punch.
And I was really good at that kind of like reactive button press.
She is. Like, we played button tapping games, and
I'm pretty good at the reaction part, not necessarily great at the execution.
All of a sudden I hear like,
exactly.
damn Del.
But also obviously Spyro 1 through 3. Still prefer those over the new remake. Don't attack me over that. The remake's okay. It's not bad, but I
need to play it.
The art style of the old school one. And the music was a little nicer for me. I don't know. Just small little things.
That game broke the console, actually. I did a deep dive on a documentary on Spyro and then Crash Bandicoot, which I'll bring up in a second. But apparently the polygons effed up the PS1.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I was like, what?
Yeah, I played also Star Ocean 2, which is my favorite Star Ocean and the best Star Ocean in the series. After 2, it just dive bombed real hard, and it was bad. I mean, the third one wasn't horrible. I know there's a lot of people who love the third one. The story for the third one, A+. Will not deny that.
I think I personally
could not. I couldn't get past the overly anime style that was the third game, like the giant eyes and the colored hair, and it was very, very like anime-esque. And I don't have anything against anime-esque games because I did play a lot of them, but that was the one game where it was sci-fi, and then you added that.
It was too much.
Weirdly kawaii-esque look, and it just didn't work for me with the tone of the story. But the voice acting was good. Will not deny, voice acting was good. And of course, I played Final Fantasy 7 through 9. 7 and 9 are better than 8. Don't at me. There was like a few. I think I played A Legend of Mana, and I played a few other PS1 games. I definitely played Crash Bandicoot. I played those little demo PlayStation CDs that would come out all the time. There were a few other games I know for sure that I played, but that I can remember off the top of my head. And I went diving. Like I went into sort of like a look-see on Google.
Or trans.
I played the Yu-Gi-Oh card game. Weird as it was.
Never got into that now.
Yeah. Oh god, listen, if you haven't played online Yu-Gi-Oh card game, you have not had a decent mind trip. It wasn't horrible, it was just odd. I know that was my first encounter with Crash Bandicoot as well. I never fully played the games. I borrowed it from a friend, played a little bit of it. I definitely enjoyed it. There was Soul Reaver, which I couldn't get into because it scared me when I was younger because I was a kid. So it freaked me out a little bit. But other than that, you know, there was a few. I know Legend of Mana, there was another one. God, I can never remember this other one that I played. Somebody might have to. Oh, there it is. Found it. I just literally looked it up. Threads of Fate. That was a game that I played with my brother, and I remember him and I were very fascinated by this game because you could be either the boy or the girl character, and it was just very pastel-y and fantasy-esque, and I don't know, we enjoyed that game. I always felt like it was a very niche fever dream kind of game, but I guess it did kind of well. Not 100% sure. I never really looked further into it. I might do that later today. I might actually like go looking for it and be like, all right, how did this game do?
Yeah,
there are a few PS1 games that I never played while they were on the PS1 because, again, I was very young, didn't have money. You know, I was at the mercy of my parents' wallets. Whatever they said could go,
pretty
would
much
go. So I will be mentioning that I have played these games, but I have not played them on the PS1, and that is Xenogears. And I also played Breath of Fire 4. I never got to play those on the PS1 when they were on the PS1, as well as Final Fantasy 5. 5. Yes, 5 and 4, the anthology one, whatever. But I never got to play those on the PS1. I know they existed for the PS1. I remember the boxes clearly. But I ended up playing those games when I owned a PSP and a PS Vita because I bought them digitally.
Yeah,
and
that was the best way of getting.
Yeah, anyway, you next.
Shit, like mine. I'm gonna go speed through. Computers and IBM DOS games. For those who don't know what DOS stands for, disk operating system, because my parents were nerdy. Computer, stop.
Can you say that again?
Okay. Computer, stop.
This entire podcast is gonna be bullshit.
Oh, it's fucking great. Anyway, I'm keeping that in for our little blooper.
Don't,
great.
Please. No, don't make it sound unprofessional. Please. I'm begging you.
Oh, people love it.
Mm-mm.
Oh, that one was funny. You gotta.
Oh, Jesus.
So for like computers and stuff, Space Invaders, Flight Simulator, Doom, Duke Nukem, and then Fuzzy Town. Yeah, Tim Scary's Fuzzy Town. That shit was pretty badass as a kid because like I played it on Apple, and it was fun because you were like a construction dude, and then you were like doing like odd stuff around the town to build it. It was like a simulator thing. It was cool.
Okay.
And then my PlayStation ones, guys, this one's gonna be long. I'm sorry. Because me and Dell, like that was my first console too, like my first actual, like, hey, it's 1998, so get a console. Jeremy Graff's Supercross 98. I played it with my brother, and we spent $20 on that. Metal Gear Solid 1, I am very fond of that game. Sorry, but David Hayter and Cam Clark, thank you for the autograph. It was worth the money paying for you guys to sign. Thank you. I appreciate you. Crash Bandicoot, played it at my grandparents' place because there was nothing I really could do. So put Ollie in front of a TV and let him sit on the floor and play Crash Bandicoot. Tomb Raider also, loved the hell out of that one, even though the graphics sucked and there was like dinosaurs and she had to bump backwards and then she had big boobs and all that stuff. And people were like later like, oh, this, that, and the other thing. Gran Turismo, loved the hell out of that one. SmackDown 1 and 2, which is wrestling. I'm a huge wrestling fan. I don't follow it as much as I used to, but those two games I really wanted. My parents were very nice to get this for me because I had nothing better to do with my life. The Die Hard trilogy. Looked at that the other day. I thought I had a niche dream like Delmarie. I thought I had thought I was freaking out. My dad bought it when we had the PS1, and then holy crap, the AC is working. And it was amazing. It had like a driving thing. That was the first game that, like I had like a panic attack. I was like, and then Army Man Charges Heroes, Army Man Air Attack, and then Cool Borders 3, which was amazing. And then Sledstorm, which was a snowmobile game, which I loved to death. And that was it for my PS1. I just had a mixture of crap.
You just reminded me I also played PC, and I put them at the bottom of my list. I don't know why. Because PC, I started in the late 90s.
Order Yeah, I put it in order of like what I had.
I had mostly in order, but I'd forgotten PC and I put it at the bottom because I'd forgotten PC and I didn't move it. But PC, I started young, didn't play a lot of games when I was younger. I'm playing a little more now with my Steam, but I don't have that much option because I play on a MacBook, guys. So Stardew Valley is the one that I play now. And I'll play some point and clicks, and I play Kingdom New Land, Kingdom Two Crowns. But when I was young, it was Lemmings, Age of Empires 2 and 3, because oof, who didn't play Age of Empires? Sims, the OG Sims, and I had so many skins. I had skins from Final Fantasy characters. I had Gundam skins. I had like a shit ton of skins because I learned quickly how to manipulate my game. So that was back when Sims, you could actually manipulate like the wallpapers and stuff. And I had like these big, like video game looking mansions in my game and characters. I know I played some point and click stuff, and I played Paint, like Paint by Numbers.
Oh, Paint was
games when I was like in the 90s. But yeah, those are the ones I remember for PC. After PS1, it was definitely PS2. Was that the same for you?
It was PS2, yeah.
PS2, I will admit, they did something right. They had a big variety of games. They had a wide variety because a lot of people were sending, you know, their games to be on PS2. So I kind of missed that era where there was so much variety. Like there was something for everyone, and I mean everyone.
The PS2 era was really strange.
It was a little strange
because it was like, okay, we're going from the PS1 to the Atari, and the N64 just wasn't out yet. I mean, it wasn't out. Was it out? No, it wasn't out yet. But like the PS2, you couldn't even get it.
Well, N64 was out because N64 came out with the PS1. Remember?
It did. Okay, yeah, it did.
Yeah,
but like
it did.
the PS2 like blew the damn market because it was like it's got all these cores and it's got like these graphics and it's got a DVD player, which everybody was like, a DVD player. Ooh,
yeah. I remember being really like stoked about being able
and then
to
like you could flip
watch
it up
my movies on this console.
Yeah, you could flip it up vertical, and then you could play your PS1. So I know like my one friend
That's what sold my parents on buying it for me. I was like, if we buy this console, we don't have to buy DVD players for the house because it comes with it. So I remember them being like, yeah, okay, why not? It seems like a good investment. And I was like, all right.
I mean, Sony like really blew the market because there were like devs from everywhere. I mean, a lot of the games were shit. Like we ain't gonna lie, like.
Oh, there were some games that I remember. I go on Metacritic.com and I was looking up like their giant list because I think they have the list of every single PS2 game that came out, and it's like some of these games I'll see them and I'm like, I forgot this was a thing. Oh my god!
all the you know, movie tie-in games, all the TV show tie-in games, or like
Rayman, and like you'd have like the fishing games and the flight simulators, and then you had the WWFs, and you'd had Silent Hill and this Manhunt.
Oh, that was a big thing. Resident Evil and Silent Hill were huge in the PS2.
You had the DDR games, which I owned a DDR mat, and I had a DDR game, and that was a wild time. And I also remember buying when they put it on mega sale. They had the box of the game with the microphone for Sing It. And I bought them for $5, and I had them for like parties because my cousin was really big into karaoke, so I mostly had that game so that whenever she'd come over for like a family party or whatever, she'd be like, let's put the game in, let's do karaoke. And so I'd be nice for her. I really didn't play the Sing It much myself, to be fair.
Oh, Delmarie.
No, I did the DDR more. I was more the DDR girl. Although I stopped playing once the mat, like the sensors started moving inside the mat. Apart. No, they started like shifting around in the mat, so I didn't really know exactly where to put my foot half the time. And then the mat itself didn't have a way to like stay on the floor. And we have tile floors. So like when you were playing the really intense games where you were just hopping around, that thing would slide, and the last thing I wanted was a concussion. But I played those games. I'm just gonna list off a few memorable PS2 games for me, and if anything, if you want to go deep dive into any of those, let me know. But my more memorable ones were like the first games that came out for it. So it would be the Bouncer, which was one of Square's ways to kind of try and get away from the Final Fantasy RPG kind of niche that they put themselves in. And this game was more like a fighter game. It was a very short story fighter game, but it was a fighter game nonetheless. It wasn't bad. I enjoyed it. The design style of the characters is definitely very reminiscent of what they did now. It's like you can tell it is the predecessor for what they did with Final Fantasy X and what they did with Kingdom Hearts. Like you can absolutely tell that they were influenced for that. There's Okage Shadow King, Final Fantasy X, of course, because that was like the hype game for that console. Like they hyped the console up with that game. The Kingdom Hearts series, particularly Kingdom Hearts 2, Dragon Quest 8, the Jak and Daxter series, the entire Jak and Daxter series, so good. So out of my comfort zone for that time, because that's not the kind of game that I would play back then. I was very into my little niche of RPGs and very side scroller, very like casual game. Jak and Daxter was a little more high paced and, shooter, I was not a person who did shooters, but that game caught my eye and I played the entire series real hard. The entirety of Xenosaga, which was a clusterfuck, but it was still interesting. Rogue Galaxy, which you can still find on the PlayStation Store if you really want to buy it, guys. It's there. It goes on sale all the time, and if not, I think it should be on if you have the PlayStation subscription, not Plus, but the other one.
Now.
PlayStation Now. There we go.
Yeah,
should be there. Radiata Stories was a very good game. I wish they would bring it onto the PlayStation Now. It was very much in the same vein of Chrono Cross, a whole bunch of characters that you could bring into your party, and then these characters, sometimes to recruit them, they would all have a set schedule and the timer would be going in the game. So like as you're walking, there's this timer and you would see the time of day change and it would go to from day to night and the characters would be moving around. So they had these schedules that you would have to memorize if you needed to meet them for something or for a mission that you had to do, things like that. So it was really interesting because it went beyond, like it went very different with the AIs. It wasn't like we're all these characters in a set place. It's always daytime, things like that. No, they would move them around. They would show you these characters all had a life outside of what you were doing. Time would go on, night and day happened. Sometimes you'd get kicked out of a store if you were in the middle of this, if you were buying things and it was the middle of the night and they'd be like, no, we're closed, get out.
Right. You'd
be buying things and you'd be like, shit, now I gotta wait until morning. Or things would close that you couldn't go into those places because it was nighttime, so you'd have to wait for a little while for the game to go to daytime, or you'd have to go to sleep and change the time again, things like that. Also, decisions you made in the game would affect what would happen further on in the story, because there were several major decisions you had to make that would affect if characters stayed in your party or left, and things that would happen in the game and the way the ending turned out as well, which again, things that fascinated me because I love stories and I love games that give you those kind of options. Art Nellico 2, which was a very different and odd game where, you got these singing android-esque girls that aren't really androids, I guess. I don't know. It was odd. It was an odd game. I don't remember. I just remember it was a lot of combat and the music was really great. And then the girls would sing and they were the only ones who could sing. Apparently nobody else could sing in the game. But other than that, there's like definitely a lot more. Those were just the ones off the top of my head that I can remember playing a lot for hours. But for sure there's definitely probably more games out there that I'm forgetting. I never played .hack. I had a friend play .hack. I saw them play .hack. Cannot say I did. I know, because I know somebody in the comments is going to come after me and be like, what about .hack? .hack was a great series. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying I never got to play it because again, I couldn't afford it because I was still very young back when PS2 was happening, and I couldn't purchase it for myself. I had to pick and choose my games very carefully.
20 to 30 games went to 20 to 40, and now they went to 60. Now they're about 70 or 80 $80.
Yeah,
and you wonder about
they can be up to 90 or 100 something, depending if you're grabbing a collector's edition.
Not even
or
a collector's edition.
It's
just
something.
it's like, oh, it's an import. It's like, okay,
true.
but what the? They're like, well, we had to import it. It's like $100 though. It's
Oh,
like,
the one other series I forgot, Dynasty Warriors. That's
yeah,
when
that I do remember.
that's when Dynasty Warriors became a big thing, and I played that a lot. That was my stress relief game.
You were
That was
telling me.
definitely my stress relief game. I would just let them all crowd around me and then hit my limit. And I think the satisfying thing about that game was when you would hear the of you hitting everybody and then just going boom. And you're like, like popcorn.
Oh my lord, I love it.
It was like popcorn. It was a
I
great
agree.
time.
I mean, you should see me going like crazy games, and I'm like murdering. They're like, "Are you happy?" And I'm like, "I am now."
I want you to look up later on Radiata Stories, because again, it was a really good game. It was very different. It was a very different game for its time.
It is time.
Like, no, for its time, I'm saying.
Oh,
it was a very different game for its time. Like, I feel like if it were a nowadays game, it would have had a better reception. It was a very obscure kind of game almost, I think. It was a game that if you knew about it, you knew and you loved it, but a lot of people would just kind of like not.
Yeah, go
like they would look past it and they'd walk by it and not realize it was a gem.
Yeah.
So what about you?
My games are gonna be stupid because yours are awesomer, but well, the big game that came out for the PS2 was Grand Theft Auto 3. My buddy of mine was the only one that had a PS2, so we would go to our camp, and that's what we played. Unfortunately, he didn't have a memory card because nobody knew a fucking memory card was a thing back then, and memory cards were kind of were in demand. So you'd have to get a PS2 and then a memory card. Just like the PS1, you didn't know, and people don't believe Delmarie, but there is for both systems, there is a memory card with a switch for double layer for more storage. Yeah. Metal Gear Solid 2, obviously my thing. And number 3 was amazing. David Hayter, amazing voice actor. And I realized, oh my God, people are voice actors, and this game was amazing. So that was my thing. Max Payne 1 and 2, amazing game from Remedy. Then got published by Rockstar. If you talk to the director of that game was not supposed to be what it is now, but it just turned out to be amazing. Apparently, the creator, that's his face. So Max Payne is actually him with the scrunch. And I was like, oh, that's why it looks like. And he's like, he makes the face for fun on like the anniversary. He does the face, and they're like, oh, that's Call of Duty was freaking amazing. Loved all of that. And that was pretty much it for me. I picked the games that I really hit me. There's a lot of honorable mentions. Ratchet and Clank, like you just said, Sly Cooper.
My brother 100%. That was like the first game he ever actually tried to get all the trophies for, and he did it because he was just that obsessed with Sly Cooper.
Yeah, Sly Cooper was amazing. I just picked the games that I really just hit me hard because that's what we could afford. I had to pick very like Dell. We had to pick very slimmly because
we had to pick and choose what we wanted because it was just kind of this parent budget.
Yeah,
you get like two. Half the time I would get like maybe 2 games a year, be like birthday and Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And unless I had really nice friends, which happened with the PS1, that's how I got Legend of Dragoon. I had a friend gift it to me for my 15th birthday.
But then you also had the trade system between your friends. So you'd be like, hey, I have this game. Do you want to trade for a week? And if they were nice, they're like, hey, I'm leaving here. Try my game or try it. So the trade system was a thing, but our parents were like, dude, they didn't understand.
But also back then you had to be careful who you were lending your stuff to or trading to, because sometimes they'd give you a real scratched up
shit or cracked in two.
Oh, I remember getting back a game and I was just so mad because it was just covered in scratches. I'm like, what did you do? Drag it with your foot?
Oh my God, I got back one disc and it was like...
He was like, oh yeah, my PlayStation's not the best at reading discs right now. I'm like, you could have warned me.
Right. The laser's hitting it and shit.
Good Lord. Oh, and the other great thing about the 2 that, again, a lot of fans have pushed for it and they're still not bringing it back, the backwards compatibility, which is what I loved about it, because as I got older and I could get more games and I had friends who gifted me more games, I could ask them for the PS1 games that I couldn't play when I had the PS1 because I could play them on the 2. So it was always a great time.
That was a good time. Like going back and like the DVD thing was cool because like for the 2, it had it all, but also the 2 also brought us online compatibility. Which SOCOM was my very first game to play online with a headset. I got cursed out from guys who knew what the hell they were doing. And then I played Madden for the first time, which
I
turned
never
into,
played an online game until the PS3.
that shit was
And-
wild. Like,
And it was DC Online that I played out of curiosity because it was free.
yeah,
I played DC Online.
Never played
and
that
I had
one.
a big group of guys. If they ever weirdly find out about this podcast and they know, like, they recognize my voice or something. Hi, this is Lady Marina, Lady_Marina on PlayStation. Y'all were such sweethearts. You made my first experience with online gaming great because I'd heard so many horror stories, and literally I ended up getting picked up by this guild of men, just straight up men. It was just men. I'm pretty sure most of them were, yeah, I'm pretty sure most of them were. Yeah, they were probably African American men. But they were so sweet. They were so sweet to me. I remember one guy, it was this one white guy, and I knew he's a white guy because I actually have him on Facebook still. We still say hi to each other now and then. He picked me up during a mission. He was like, "Hey, I'll help you out." And I was like, "Okay." And he was like, "Wait, you're a girl." And I thought to myself, "Oh no." that instinctual uh-oh. And he went, "Oh, do you need help with other missions?" And he brought me on another mission. And the next thing I know, he like comes, "You should join our guild. Are you in a guild?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Join our guild." And then I did. And he introduces me, and all these guys are like, "Hi, oh my God, hey, are you new? Like, you want to go do missions?" And they literally were like, "We're just going to set you up with really great equipment. We're going to go on missions, get you good gear." I was their healer. It was a great time. I didn't even mind being the healer. I just stand in the middle of everybody and just spam my area attack heals. But it was such a fun time because I remember they'd be like, "We should do this mission." And I'm like, "Oh, that's a DLC mission. I don't have the DLC." And then they would just get me the DLC so I could do the DLC mission with them, even though I wasn't asking for it. That's like one of those things where a lot of people are always, "Oh, well, you girls are manipulative." I'm like, no, some of us just straight up say, "Yeah, no, I don't have that thing. And if you offer it, we're not going to say no."
No, I wouldn't say no.
But like, also don't assume that we're trying to get it out of you. I've seen girls try to get things out of guys. I know what that one's like.
Pretty much easy to figure out.
Yeah. No, but they were, that was such a good experience. I kind of miss DC Online. I know it's still around.
It is. Not as
good.
But
apparently it doesn't, don't hurt yourself. But apparently it doesn't, it's not like I have it for the PS4. I downloaded it, but apparently like my DLC didn't bump up to the PS4 version is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, yeah, they didn't do
and also it got really laggy. The servers got really laggy.
They went down for a little bit, and I know somebody was doing a rebuild project. It's been like the biggest thing now. Like I said, I guess I'm a nerd, a geek. My friends call me out on it. They're like, "Aha!" I'm like, "But I'm not." They're like, "Shut up." They're like, "Aha! You fucking got it out of you, little bitch." I'm like, I didn't know. So apparently that's one of the servers they were working on. I know a friend of mine was big into that game. He's dumped a lot of money into it, and they were launching a homebrew server at his house. And I was like, "What the hell is that record?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm building a server for a couple games, like Xbox, I guess Xbox Halo." He built a server for that because they wanted to play that a little bit and some others. So I'm like, "Wow, you're doing a homebrew thing." He's like, "Yeah, man." He's like, "I just sunk too much into this where I don't want it to go away. This is like my baby, for us."
Yeah.
I feel for him. Because a lot of what Sony's done, like Sony even admitted, like, "Oh, we're taking off the PS Store." And I know when that hit, a lot of people were pissed because they don't want to do game conservation. And that's fucking sad that we have to like go to eBay and thrift stores and people who can't afford, like Bill and myself, pick up our old classics that we loved. And there's a lot of games we are missing, guys. We are missing a lot of titles. So we're just picking up things we're just
picking up things. We fully admit we've definitely played more games than this, or there are games that we will forget. We're just picking up what we can remember that we enjoyed and that we played a lot.
Yeah, what hit our brains? Like what game like stuck out to us? Like, oh my god, I played that and I had a great time playing, and this is what I remember. Like I showed Del my list. She was like, "Your list." I'm like, I'm like, "It's what I like." That joke because we were both messing around, just chatting. I was like, "Hey, the list is kind of done." I started my list last weekend. I'm sitting there at a table and I'm going, "Okay, what the hell did you play? What could you afford?" And I'm like, "Okay, we had that. Got that at a garage sale. Went to Electronic Boutique, which is now EV Games, which is GameStop. So for those who are like, what the hell is Electronic Boutique? That's GameStop. They just bought out the whole conglomerate. Um, but yeah, I hate that game conservation is not really a thing, and I hate that Nintendo. I love you, and I also hate you. There's another lawsuit going on. They just won a big lawsuit. They're shutting down a huge server system, which I mean, they have a right to for copyright reasons and trademark reasons. But if you're not going to back up your stuff to where we can get it, shame on you, because like people are really dying for these classics. And I understand,
and
like
they don't want to invest the time and the money, because I get it. They want to work on newer things, but like just let the fans.
But there is like one thing. My buddy's been a part of it recently, and he's been putting a lot of like his own money. So you pay for the server time, I guess, like you pay for the thing, but they are paying the devs like a certain chunk, which is good. He's a big advocate about that. So he's part of a big forum on Facebook. If I find the link, I'll send it to you guys. Put on the thing if you'd like to donate to it. But they've been really keeping these servers alive for some people who have never played these games and stuff like that. So even he doesn't agree with piracy. I don't agree with piracy. But if you can't get it, that's the only way you can get it. So I mean, I don't know what to say. I feel like
there should be at least a digital library, not necessarily to sell and let people play, but like just to kind of keep that data alive, so that if a company also wanted to go back and maybe do a remaster or something like that, they could access their own game files again without having to be like, oh shit, we lost those years and years and years ago,
It's sad, but it's a thing. I'm gonna go on to PS3 now.
Go for it.
I'm going down my list. Arkham Asylum, absolutely didn't love that game. I remember I had GameFly, and that was the first game I heard it was coming. God, it's so fucking good. Mark Hamill, Kevin Conroy. I have your autograph. I still got to put it up on the wall. Oh my god, so good, so good. The voice cast came back when Mark Hamill did his Joker. I was like, that was my thing. Infamous 1 and 2. Didn't think I'd like these games. Infamous 1 and 2 were amazing. You played as Cole Phelps, and it was just amazingly good. That was for when the PS3, that was like their launch title. Little Big Planet, I know we have a fondness for that. That's our shit.
Yep.
Army of Two. I know some of you are gonna be like, why that? Me and my stepbrother at the time, still my brother, we shared a room, but that game really broke the co-op boundary for both of us. I just got the PS3, I had working my ass off to get it, and like I was waiting for Metal Gear Solid 4 to come out. But Army of Two, I picked it up at a GameStop, and that game blew our minds because you literally have to be tandem with each other. Like, pick me up. Okay, I got a fate. And like, you're getting shot in your aggro system because your guns are all like gold and you're changing all your gear out. And then we were supposed to do like a cosplay together, which we never have. Matt, we need to do that. It game was so amazing. And the bosses were like so wild that you had to like die. Like you had to fake to be dead. And like, okay, wake up. And I'm like, you had to wake up and get the aggro on the other guy. It was so much fun. Metal Gear Solid 4. Need I say more? Ratchet and Clank. Fucking amazing game of how just the level design was and the story was. So good. Uncharted collection. Need I say more? That game was amazing. Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Holy hell, that woke me up to graphics of like what the PS3 can do. And so did Metal Gear Solid. PlayStation Move. Yeah, I fell into that. I ended up buying that in New York when I went up there. I actually spent like almost $100 something on the camera and the controllers. And we played a shit ton of Frisbee golf on the TV. Best decision ever of my life. And I kind of miss it. I miss it, but that was it for me, sadly. My list sucks.
That was it? That's all you? Oh no, I still got one.
Well, no, I had more. Like I have more that I played, but these are the ones that I loved.
Okay. Well, for me, yeah, PS3. Some of them I don't have like a ton that I played, but again, you got to keep in mind this was during a time where I was in college, couldn't get too many games,
right?
Because I had to study as well. I did have a few games. Some of the ones that I did have, I'm not going to mention because they were not memorable and I did not enjoy them very well. Not gonna name which ones. But yeah, Little Big Planet 2 and 3. Those were the bomb.com. And also Little Big Planet karting for me. I
wanted
karting.
to get that, but
I have it.
I was too broke.
I still have my PS3 and it still works perfectly. And I have karting, so someday we'll get together and we'll play. It was kind of like Mario Karting, but crazier. Honestly, I had a lot of fun. They had their own version of Rainbow Road that was insane because you had to use the hook shots with it. It was a good time. Nier, that's when I first played Nier because that's what the console that it came out on. That's the one that I've been telling you, like, play this game. It's a great game.
I got it now, so I've been playing it. Watch me on Twitch or Facebook.
I still haven't started my new copy for the remaster. You got to do that.
So far, I am liking it, and we will discuss when I go more deep into it.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later off camera. Eternal Sonata was a game that I love, and some people are probably gonna remember this game and go, "Ha," because this game was basically inspired by Chopin, the composer, the piano composer. The main character is Chopin himself. Wow. And he goes into this adventure and he meets these characters that are named after, you know, musical notes and things like that. There's this character called the Arpeggio, basically. He meets this little girl and she's like sick and he wants to help her find a cure. And so they go on this like magical adventure, basically. It's very anime style, very colorful. And it just turns out that, you know, this is all in his head. He was in a coma, poor guy. You know, he was sick. He was on his deathbed and he was just imagining all this. And then the little girl was basically based off his little sister who died when she was young. She died of an illness. So it was a very fascinating game because during the loading screens of each chapter, they would title the chapter off of one of his songs and they would play the song and they would give you a little bit of history of the song that was written. And then you would go into this new chapter and whatever area you were in was kind of based off what this sound or this composition, you know, kind of gave the developers a feeling. So it was really interesting for me.
That's a wild take.
Yeah, and I've played this game when I was taking introduction music classes in college that I had to take. They were like those forced humanities courses.
Right.
And so it was a really nice kind of way to have a duality between like me playing this game and then taking the class and getting music history. I love Arkham City and Asylum. Not gonna lie, like I'm with you on that. Those were great games. Ni no Kuni, the first game, that's when I first played it. I'm replaying it on PS4 because I never finished it on the PS3, so no spoilers. I still don't know the ending. I have refused all these years to spoil myself. I've been strong. It's gonna happen, guys. We're gonna finish it and I'll find out what happened at the end. I have my suspicions, but whatever. Lego Lord of the Rings. I love Lego games. Lego Batman 2, Lego Batman 3,
I just
Lord of the Rings.
She told me to. So.
I'm still mad that Lego Lord of the Rings is not on PS4. Like, I can get The Hobbit easy. I don't want to get The Hobbit because they changed the formula for how Lego games are played with that one, and it wasn't fun for me.
Right.
But Lego Lord of the Rings, I never finished getting all the trophies. I just want to get all my damn trophies. Life is Strange.
Oh, good one.
Oh God, the first one that hit the mark for me. Great game. Wolf Among Us. I'm still salty that they announced the second game and then the company went under. I am so damn
you and Dakota,
salty.
You and Dakota are very salty.
Like, I got so excited when they showed the logo, Wolf Among Us 2. And I was like, yes, it's going to happen. Finally, my dreams. And they were crushed. Yep. And I need another company, please. Please. Whoever's out there. It might
be in the works.
Please.
What did Dakota say?
Pick it up for me.
Dakota
the ending. You can't leave me that way.
No. I think Dakota said somebody is taking over. There was a big rumor. I'll ask him because he would know better than I. Because Dakota, you guys seen him on the Mind Unleashed. He is nerdy as shit. And he would know all about that. So apparently somebody was buying it, or they have the stuff done, but they're trying to publish. I don't know the whole shindig, so sorry. But it looks like it's in the works. I think they did a like Kickstarter or Indiegogo or something. I don't remember the whole thing, but even he's kind of like, bitches, because that's his jam.
Yeah, I listened to that first game. I love it. I'm probably gonna replay it for the PS4 on a stream.
Ooh, I need to play.
It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, I need to jump on that so bad.
So after 3, what did you get?
After PlayStation 3, I was lucky enough to get an Xbox 360. Unfortunately, this is kind of a sad time for me. My uncle did pass away about a month after. He was going through cancer again, and shit happened. And I was supposed to see him, but he ended up shipping me. I was working my ass off, guys. I was working my ass off at Universal, busting it in every fucking day at like 6 in the morning, getting home at like 8 at night. And he told me, he said, "What are you working your ass off towards?" And I said, "I'm working towards getting an Xbox 360 because that's something I've always wanted, and I'm whatever." So he said, "I'll tell you what." He said, "You come up with half the money, I'll give you like $300-$400 towards it." So I ended up going to Blockbuster at the time, and my uncle was still kicking, but I went to Blockbuster and they had it for free something, whatever. Ended up getting it from them. About a week later, it goes down in price. And I'm like, it went down like $60. I was kind of heated, but I was like, fuck it. Like it is what it is. So I ended up running over to the pawn shop, ended up picking up Gears of War 1. And then my brother was sick at the time, so I had to carry the stupid thing back to my house, which was like right down the road. And people were honking their horns like, "Give me that good Xbox." I'm like, all right, fuck you, take it. My brother ended up rolling down to GameStop, ended up picking up Halo 3 because that's the game we both really wanted. And I only had one controller, and they gave me like Xbox Live. This is when Party Chat finally became a thing because PS3 really slipped the ball with not having Party Chat and all that kind of crap.
Yeah.
But like, ended up putting Halo in. I got past the first level and then it froze. And then my brother had to rush all the way back to GameStop, like fly back on his bike and then like bring back a new copy of Halo. And we spent hours playing Halo 3 that night. But honorable mentions there. That's my thing. Connect Sports ended up buying Connect because like that shit was amazing. Halo 3 was our jam because my brother-in-law was in station at San Diego, so we ended up playing Halo at like California time meets Eastern Standard Time. That was a rough time. Gears of War 1, 2, and 3. Guys, I got the Gears of War Death Omen on my arm. So what the hell does that tell you? Left 4 Dead, amazing game. Forza, Trials Evolution, amazing. 1 vs. 100 was a big Xbox game where they would play live, where you and a group of party of 4 of your friends would be online in the party chat, and you would play against everybody across the world. And whoever won it, I guess they would send you like Xbox cards or whatever. And we played that every night when it was live because it was a live thing. This game I absolutely loved. I wish I got it later, but LA Noire, amazing.
Okay.
Holy hell, that game was great. From Team Bondi, which that's a whole deep dive. If you guys want to dig into the Team Bondi, and Rockstar took over that. Amazing game. I ended up buying it again for PS3. I do want to get it for Switch, but I'm like, eh. But if you like 1950 nostalgia and like story, that LA Noire is like amazing. A lot of motion capture was in that game because they broke into motion capture.
Okay.
Amazing game. Like if you've ever played LA Noire, I don't know what to tell you. You need to play it.
I didn't play it.
It's amazing. Like it's got crime.
I've seen the box several times. I never played it.
I will have to play this, and you need to watch because it's just.
Oh yeah.
I gotta have you. I gotta have you. Just kind of sit there and go, are they lying? Are they telling the truth? What did I miss or what didn't I miss? And all these visual cues and stuff like that. So LA Noire, amazing. Unfortunately, like it was a 2-disc game because the Xbox only had the CDR, not a Blu-ray player. So It sucked when you had to get up and like change the disc of the Xbox 360. So it's like insert disc 2. You're like shit.
Yeah, that happened a lot. Well, I mean, I guess we were still used to that from older school.
I mean, Metal Gear Solid 4 was the only game for the PS3 that double layered the disc. It's the only game that I know of still that literally was trying to break the PS4 or trying to break the PS3 because Hideo Kojima was talking about it. He was like, our team had so much time developing and time of developing, and then it all fell together, and it was like Jesus Christ, because that system was a hardcore to break into apparently for that one. But that was my Xbox 360 list.
Nice. I never like my brother had an Xbox 360. The 2 games that I ever played for it, I also found them for PS3, so kind of null and void for me.
And there were a lot of fun games for 360 that I miss.
I will say after the PS3, I did get a PSP and I did get the 3DS, and I don't remember which of the 2 came first. So
Good luck on that one.
We'll just put down, I think it was the PSP. I want to say I got the PSP first. So for the PlayStation Portable, I'm only going to list games that were specifically for portable, because you could buy, again, digital copies of PS1 games and some PS2 games that you could play on the console. Same thing with the PS Vita later on, which I also owned. And like I mentioned before, I played Xenogears and I played Breath of Fire 4 on the Vita and the PSP. So, but I'm going to mention the ones that I got that were exclusively PSP, which would be Persona 3 Portable, which was the version of Persona 3 where you had a female and a male protagonist, and it was kind of a weird, almost like a dating sim vibe look to it. But it was still combat and everything. It's just the graphics were a little different. Star Ocean 1, which was the first time I ever played Star Ocean 1 because they brought it back for that. And then Star Ocean 2, when they brought the Second Evolution remaster, which meant that they had upgraded the graphics, they had added voice acting, which the original had not had, and then they added little character like design animations on top of the dialogue, which it also hadn't had before, which I enjoyed a lot. I played Crisis Core. I'm iffy on Crisis Core for Final Fantasy. I love Zack Fair as a character, but the repetitive dungeons did get kind of annoying. It was just kind of this formulaic, same old with the dungeons after a while. Valkyrie Profile Lenneth, great game. Never played it for PS2, so it was great to play it on PSP. And Lunar Silver Star, which was the predecessor to Lunar 2, which I did play, but I never finished. And it is actually Sean Beatty's favorite game, and he still has a working PS1 and a copy of Lunar 2 that functions because we played it one time together. It was great.
Right on.
It was really nostalgic too, because we played it a few months before I left. I was just like, oh, this still works. But I played the predecessor, like the first Lunar Silver, which was Lunar Silver Star Harmony, I think it was. Can't remember very well. And then for 3DS, that was my first. No, that was not my first foray. That's a lie. It was the Wii. The Wii came first. The Wii came first. So we'll piggyback onto the Wii first. Okay. I got that Wii that you now have.
My mom now has it because
your mother has the Wii. Thank God somebody loves that Wii because it was collecting dust, and I felt so bad.
She has lost. Well, I got her hooked on the Oculus Quest 2 because I let her use my VR, and then she was like, "I want a VR," and I'm like, "No, you really don't," because like it's a little complex. It's not complex, but for her, my mom's like, "Fix it." I'm like, "I'm not that talented," but she kicks my door open one day and she's like, "Hey, how do I get a Wii?" And I'm like, I don't know." And then Dell was like, "Hey, I'm selling my Wii." I'm like, "Give me a second." My aunt comes running in. It was a trick from my aunt. My aunt was like, "Tell her I'll give her $50." I'm like, "Okay." My mom, it gets mailed here. Dell like mails it out to me, and then like and my mom is like,
I bubble wrapped it to hell and back.
Oh, it arrived. It arrived safe and sound. It was sitting on our doors.
I was so scared. I was just like, "Please let it work. Please let it work."
It arrived safe and sound, and my mom literally has been all over the gaming sites of like, "I got a game for 50 cents, and I got this for this," and I'm like, she's got piles of games.
That's the great thing about the Wii. Like when you go old school nowadays, it's just depending on the game, it's easy to find goodies that are cheap.
She's very because I gave them the PS4 because I have a PS5 now. Not trying to brag. It happened. But my mom, just I'd give it to you if I could, but I would hold it like I'm saying.
I kid.
I would cry, and then I'd like you'd kick me away with my crutch and like push me in my nose. And
I'm joking. I wouldn't take it from you.
Totally would.
No.
She sounds like she's kind of.
No, I wouldn't take it from someone else.
but mom's very particular. She likes like Family Feud and all those kind of games, Wheel of Fortune and stuff like that. So it's hard to find those for her. And she's like, Ollie, how do I end this? And then I had to like help her get the online. And then she didn't realize she needed a nunchuck. And I'm like, Mom, you need to buy another controller. And I'm like, oh my Lord, lady.
Oh
So,
yeah, I only have the one.
well, yeah, she ended up getting a new one for a friend because her and
well, technically, it only ever came with one anyway. You'd have to buy two. So
and then she didn't realize she needed a rechargeable battery, so I had to help her get that. Also, I digress, but yeah, that was that's our Wii story. Back to you though.
But for the Wii, I had the Epic Mickey game, the No More Heroes 1 and 2, and Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, as well as Wii Sport, because I'll admit that was a console that my parents bought us, and it was more for me to exercise, which is why I used the Wii Sport a lot. And we played Epic Mickey a bit. My brother had Skyward Sword, and we had also both bought together Twilight Princess. He played them more though, so I didn't really put them on my list for that reason. Like I watched him play them, and I enjoyed the stories, but I didn't put them on my list because I didn't play them. But we didn't have a lot of games for the Wii, to be fair.
No.
It's just the Wii came at a weird time because then the Wii U launched, and then like a few months after I got the Wii, I splurged and I got a 3DS. So like after the 3DS thing, that's when I started playing. I played my first Animal Crossing, which was New Leaf, and that's when I got hooked. I played a lot of Fire Emblem games. That was my awakening into Fire Emblem games. So I played Awakening, I played Echoes, I played Fates. They were all really great games. I played Radiant Historia, which is a really fascinating game. And it was technically a remake that they made for 3DS because I guess it had been on a different console before, but I don't remember it. I have all the Professor Layton games, every single Professor Layton game. I am such a Professor Layton addict. You have no idea.
I need to know this.
I have the original. Like I have the original 3DS. No, I have the original the original 3 games that were for the DS.
Oh.
That you can still play on the 3DS. And then I have the 3-part storyline for the 3DS. But then I also downloaded the phone app game, which is supposedly his son. But I'm not sure if they retconned that. And then I also have the Switch game called Lady Layton, which is not his daughter, but she thinks she's his daughter. It's a weird thing. And then also for the 3DS, they had come out with a game that was Layton versus Phoenix Wright, which I had to have. And I have replayed that game at least 5 times because it is so much fun. But I am an entire, if anybody can find me Professor Layton merch, for the love of God, I would love you forever. At least a lanyard. I just want a Professor Layton lanyard or something because I need the world to know how much I love this man. It's the one game my mother actually really approved of me playing and enjoyed me playing because it was puzzle games. It's mind puzzle games. So it's a whole lot of like riddles and math and, look at this image. What's different from this other image? Or, it'll give you these like sort of, little hand puzzles, and it'd be like, okay, put this thing here and put that thing, and it would trick you sometimes. It would give you like one of those trick questions where the answer is absolutely not what your brain is telling you 20,000 times. It's the dumbest answer, and then you just kind of sit there like, I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
But oh god, I love Professor Layton and the music. I'm a huge fan of the music of Professor Layton as well. Never thought I would love an accordion, but here we are. It's because it's based off European and French. Like it takes, like, Professor Layton's an archaeologist. He's technically a professor of archaeology, but they call on him to he does like these kind of Sherlock Holmes things that are happening in the world, and he goes to solve them basically. And then the reason I had bought the 3DS in the first place was because Kingdom Hearts came out with Dream Drop Distance, so that was my excuse for the whole 3DS splurge in general. And then I finished playing Dragon Quest VIII on there because even though I'd started on the PS2, I never finished it because my PS2 had died. And then they made a 3DS version, and I finished it on there finally, and it was a great time.
Right on.
Did you have anything between 3 and PS4 or anything?
I did not. I had the PS3 for a while, and God, that poor thing broke so many times. I literally had to get rid of I literally waited for the PS3 bat had the backwards compatibility. That's what I wanted so bad because I had a lot of PS2 games. And then that shit the bed, like I just got it, and then I had to send it back to
yeah, there were
GameStop.
specific models that could only do it.
Had that for a while, and then
I never had that.
And then and then I finally had to get a PS3 Slim from Sony directly. Sony had to help me out 3 times because
I have one of the older models of PS3 because my cousin gave it to me super discounted because he got one of the slimmer models. So I have the bulky one, but it still works really well and I take really good care of them.
Yeah, like I was so angry. Like I was so broke, but I was working my ass off for the PS3, and like I went and I bought a refurbished one for my taxes, and I'm like, okay, dude, you have $350, let's do it. So yeah, like it was rough, man. My first few months of the PS3 was rough. I had like the lady yelled at me on the phone. She's like, "We don't even accept your fat PS. We don't even make those anymore." By the way, and I'm like, "Oh my god!" So I had to call GameStop directly to their number, and then they're like, "Okay, we'll send you a different one. Send it back, and we'll overnight it." I'm like, "Okay." So that was a kick in the ass. And Sony had to help me out with getting into Slim, and from there I did go into PS4, and that was a fun time because my brother had to borrow his credit card, and I paid him back. He was all paid back, but he said, "Okay, I will let you borrow the credit card. I will let you get a PS4. Here's the rule. I know you're going to pay me back, but you need to get Destiny with it." So I had to get a Destiny. Destiny was a big thing with the PS4. Everybody was like, da-da. And I ended up sitting at work, ordering a PS4 and a Vita at the same time because I wanted to use the remote play at work. I'm like, we can remote play? And that was like my big thing with the PlayStation Vita. I was like, I can remote play, which I have done. I was on a private network at work, which I cannot say how I got it. I can say because it's no longer Nolan Boyd. It's Nolan Boyd. Nobody can access that network. I had over almost a gigabit speed of a passcode I could get into to play my games.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was like what the executives use. And my buddy was like working at IT. He was like, "I'm going to give you a code. Don't tell anybody what it is. You're going to get the highest internet speed." So I did for like 2 months, 3 months to a year. I had a fastest internet phone, I think. But what I ended up getting, Destiny was number 1. My favorite game for PS4, guys. I'm sorry, it's Arkham Knight. I'm so glad I was single that time because I was that shit. I was on that for a fucking month. I played it on the hardest difficulty, and I thought Joker was dead. I thought Mark Hamill was gone. Nope, he was in that shit. It was the best thing I ever played. I even played all the DLC. I was like, I usually don't buy season passes. Let's buy the season pass. I played all the stupid Riddler things. I Arkham Knighted it. I was like, this game. It was a game where I put my controller down like 5 times. I was punching my goddamn weight bench because I was like, why is it so fucking hard? Why is it fucking hard? And my mom's like, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm having a fucking moment here. She's like, wow, I've never seen you so angry. I'm like, get Arkham Knight. That was the only game. I was like,
you pulled a Batman.
I was having a moment. Last of Us 1 and 2, another one of my favorites. I know
so good.
Naughty Dog. So good. Dying Light. For those who've never played Dying Light, play it in co-op. It is terrifying. It is fun. The game revolves around you, and when at nighttime, if you got to run and do your things, like you got to haul ass, those creatures are fast. Infamous Second Son, amazing. That was the first game I got for the PS4 because I had GameFly, and Michael Pernisco, who you guys know as Pernisco, him and his husband didn't have a PS4 yet, and I kind of was showing off what I could do with the speaker, and so that game was amazing. When I was shaking the controller, I didn't realize what the hell the sound was coming from because I was like, and it was shaking up the can, so I thought the controller was broken. I'm like, oh, it's coming from the little speaker. Uncharted 4, amazing. What can I say? Ratchet and Clank again amazing. And Little Big Planet 3, I played on that. And unfortunately, that game was broken when it came out because, I played it with Pernisco, and it had Hugh Laurie in it, which I loved House, and he was the voice. And Pernisco refuses to play with me ever again because it was broken. It had so many bugs. It was crashing as we were playing it. And it would get that blue screen of death, and it would upload to Sony. You're like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
And then your save data would be corrupted. It was a mess, but I love it nevertheless. But that was my PS4. I have a lot of honorable mentions, but yeah, those are my fun ones that I loved.
I had a Vita as well during my PS4.
Mhm.
days. So I'm gonna kind of do Vita real quick because it's smaller.
Mhm.
With my Vita, because I did have some cross-compatible games, which was World of Final Fantasy
Mhm.
and Exist Archive, but I also had Tales of Hearts R, which is the only Tales game that never got an English translation, and you can only get it for the Vita.
Really?
And I have it. It's the only Tales game that there was no English adaptation. So like you have the English writing in the dialogue, you can read it in English, but it's all still in Japanese audio. And it's really hard to find. I remember buying it when I first moved to Florida. I had bought a Vita because I had all my consoles back here and I wasn't sure if I was going to get the job. And then I did. And I was like, okay, I need something to entertain myself until I can go get all my shit back.
Yeah.
So I got like a Vita that had, God, what was this game? Oh no. Oh no, I forget this game. The one that has Claptrap. The little robot named Claptrap.
What? Oh, Borderlands 3.
There you go. I know. This is how much I played it. It was the little bundle with the Vita with the game in it.
Mhm.
I
Yep.
played it like 5 times and I was so confused.
Or sorry,
I'd never played it
Borderlands
again.
2. Sorry. Everybody's like,
Yeah, it was Borderlands. It was the Borderlands bundle. And then I got Tales of Hearts, and it took me literally, I had to drive from the Orlando area because the apartment, no, I lived at that time, I lived in Winter, like near Winter area.
probably Winter Garden.
Winter. Yeah, I think it was Winter Garden. No, Waterford. I lived in Waterford Lakes because I was living with a family friend. I had to drive from Waterford all the way down to the university because near the university town was where they had the only copy of Tales of R that I could find in the area of Orlando at the GameStops because I looked at the GameStops.
Yeah, good for you.
I had the Little Big Planet that was exclusive for the Vita as well. I loved it. It was so fun. It incorporated the back pad that you had to touch. It was a great time. And that's basically, I had Lego Hobbit as well on that one, but it wasn't that big a thing. They have a lot of dating simulator sort of games too, and I played like 2 of those and I don't even remember what they were called. That's how impactful they were.
They were weird.
Yeah, I played 2 because I was curious and I was like, okay. But for 4, yeah, definitely Sackboy.
Oh yes,
the Sackboy game. Such a good game. Dragon Quest Builders 2 is one of those games where I sat and I played hours and hours and hours, and I was so addicted. It was so like that was Minecraft for me. I never played Minecraft, but
never did either.
When I played Dragon Quest Builders, I was like, okay, I get the appeal of Minecraft.
Yeah.
Lego Superheroes 2 was another game that I was like, thank God I've been single for years because my boyfriend would not tolerate me right now. Because I would just sit there and play hours just unlocking characters. And let me tell you, Lego Superheroes 2 has a lot of characters. And if you did like me and you bought the Season Pass DLC, which was like 5 extra episodes with like over 20 more characters on top of that, yeah, spend a lot of hours.
That's why many people break up. They're like, I love you, but me, it's like, listen, you do you. This
is why I need a gamer boyfriend, but also not a gamer boyfriend who spends hours playing shooters, because like, but like I need a gamer boyfriend who understands and who can sit with me or who can find ways to pull me away from the console properly and not get mad. The Witcher, that's the Witcher 3, that's where I first fell into my Witcher hole, and I have the card games now and everything. It's a good time. Marvel's Spider-Man was a good game. Soma, which is the one that I suggested to you. Soma's a great game. Oxenfree, again, you're on that kick right now.
Playing it right now.
It Takes Two and A Way Out, which were really great games. Beyond Eyes, which is a game that it's not short, but it is relatively short. I think I played it in about 2.5 hours. Where you are literally a blind girl through the world, and you kind of have to navigate your way through the world, and it starts to reveal itself to you as you make noises or you touch things. Like it kind of, the girl grabs a ball, the vague shape comes into her hand, and then you throw it and you can see the echoes on a white screen, and you have to kind of follow it. And as you get closer, things kind of reveal shadows and then start to sort of takes shape as she hears things and she gets the mental image properly, and then it reveals itself on the screen. It was a very interesting take of a game. I will admit, I enjoyed it.
I might have to try that.
I liked it a lot.
I think I might dig that.
And then there was Stay, which is a game that plays with your actual console internal clock. So Stay is a game where this dude gets knocked out and wakes up in a house with just a monitor, a computer.
Oh God, yeah.
And he's talking to you. Basically, you're chatting to him and you're trying to help him get out of this house, but you can be suspicious or you can make him trust you, things like that. And then you got to help him get out. Basically, it's kind of like a sort of puzzle adventure game, but also it has not horror, like terror elements. Like you feel scared and you feel like somebody's actually like out there messing with you, like watching you for the whole time. And the game, basically, if you put it down, if you save and you walk away from the game will know that you did that. So when you boot it back up, the amount of time that you spent away from the game is the amount of time that character has spent waiting for you to come back and help them. So they will straight up kill themselves sometimes.
Yeah, I've heard of this.
They will go insane and they'll dialogue with you and be like, oh, you left me, like I can't trust you, and they'll just die, or something will happen, or they'll make a bad choice, or they'll panic, and then you have to restart from the previous point. So it's like one of those games that tries to force you to play it in one sitting, and it's intriguing in that concept, but wow, it was a little crazy.
Yeah, I've heard of this one. Yeah. I'll go through my Vita. My Vita list was pretty quick. Because I couldn't afford it. I bought Tombi for the PS1. That was amazing. Killzone Mercenary, and then Borderlands 2 came with my Vita too. And the funny story about the Vita, I bought it with the PS4 and it went disappearing. The UPS guy had to go track it down. They dropped it off at the wrong address.
Oh no.
So I had to stop him real quick. I'm like, hey man, like it said it was delivered. I don't know where it went. Luckily the guy was cool. I treated him like a gentleman. I didn't yell at him. I was just like, hey, can you help me with this real quick? Because he's like, bro, what's in it? I'm like, honestly, dude, it's a Vita. He's like, I'm home. It was in my. It was weird because the box was open, so I don't know if he cut them open to check to make sure they were there. Because my Amazon stuff was in the one box, in the Best Buy box, and the Vita was in the Amazon box. So really weird, but everything arrived safe and sound.
At least it arrived.
Yeah, for real. Caraway, that game was recommended to me by Pernesco. I ended up getting because it was like on their sale thing, and that one actually uses the touch controls on the back of the thing. So it used the camera, it used the feel, and you play as a little paper person, and you're trying to reveal.
Tearaway, yeah. I had that. Oh, it was so disturbing when you touch the back and then you see an animated finger just poke out of the paper, and you're like, oh no. Yeah. Why?
it was interesting, and I was like,
I liked that game. I remember taking my Vita to work when I worked at the Hogwarts Express, and I would play that game on my breaks. And I was always at that time, because that was the time when, if you weren't controls trained, you guys, the listeners aren't going to understand this very well, but so there's 2 stations, obviously, but not to give away too much of the magic. But if you're not controls trained, you were mostly in the Hogsmeade area, which is where the castle is and stuff like that. So you would be sent to that station, because normally the controls people would mostly stay in Diagon Alley. So I would sit in our back then break room. I hear they have a very nice cushy trailer now.
They do.
But back then our break room was in a very tiny hallway. In the back of house area, and I would sit on this bench or in the lead office on my breaks, and I'd be eating and I would be playing Tearaway.
It was an amazing game, because I'd like turn the camera on, I'd be like, ooh, to my face, and just being like, you're like the sun, you're like, I am the sun.
You'd make faces at it.
It was a really fun one. Pernesco was like, what you think? And I'm like, actually really fun. Persona 5 Golden, Michael's husband, David, was the one to recommend that to me. I never really finished it. I ended up watching like a movie on YouTube. It's just a long game. I didn't know what Pernesco and David were telling me.
Oh, I forgot Ni no Kuni 2 and Catherine. Ni no Kuni 2 and Catherine, because Ni no Kuni, of course, first one. Second one was great too. Very different from the first one. And Catherine, you should play. You should play Catherine full body.
Put that on our list to remind me, please.
We'll be doing that. I'll put it on the Discord right now and on our private thing.
Please do so.
Catherine.
Yeah, because whatever I'm forgetting. Uncharted Golden Abyss. That one was a really good touch game from Naughty Dog. Velocity 2X. That one was a fun side-scroller shooter space game where you had to collect coffins and everything. That game makes your fingers move quickly and your brain move quickly because you're like, oh shit, I'm cleared level 1. Let me go to level 2. If you've never played Velocity 2, I highly recommend it. It's really, really fun. Sadly for the Vita guys, I wasn't able to get much because shit was expensive. And that
and also they didn't.
And that memory card.
A lot of
that
games.
Memory card was so goddamn expensive.
It still is. If you still look for it, it's still ridiculously overpriced. And then it had to be the specific one because I remember putting in a different, like just a regular one that looked the same.
Yeah.
And it just would corrupt.
So now
it would corrupt. And I was just like, are you kidding me? And then it wouldn't hold a lot because that's the thing with my Vita. If I'm playing a game and I want to change to another game, I have to delete the game off, like save. The save file stays, but I have to delete the game off and then reinstall the other game that I want to play. So it's
I had so many corrupt files. Like
I hated that.
I ended up selling my Vita for a good cause.
No, I still have mine because I still have some games that I need to finish because I just keep pushing them off.
Well, I played as much as I could. When it was collecting dust, I was like, okay, I'm done with it. It went to a good cause. I ended up during COVID or before COVID started, I ended up kind of putting money away for a friend, Dakota. Because he's never had a console before, so I talked to Pernisco. It's in the Mind Unleashed thing. I did call it Project X if you want to look it up, the whole story. But what I ended up doing is I ended up putting my Vita on sale on eBay, and they ended up raising about $190, which is shocking. And then I ended up finding him a PS4 for the first time, which he's never had. We did a whole shindig with him, and I kind of was like, Pernisco, I need your help, and Pernisco was like, okay, but. It was all my own doing, and it was worth like helping a friend who's never had anything good in his life because this poor kid it's been rough. And then like I had to text him in the morning at a ride because I got it from eBay, and you don't know what the hell you're getting sometimes, even if you're looking. And PlayStation 4s were still high, so I had to text him, and I was like, "Hey, we're big X-Men fans, so like he calls me Logan for Wolverine, and I call him Hank for Hank Beast. It's our thing." Anyway, I kind of like gave him a clue. I'm like, hey man, did the Blackbird drop in at all? Like at your place? Did Xavier drop in? And he was like, that was you? And I'm like, yeah. And he was like, I'm like, did it arrive? He's like, that was you guys. And Pernesco fucking jumped in the chat and was like, that was all Ali. That wasn't me. But Pernesco ended up getting him a headset that was like almost $130. Turtle Beaches.
Ooh. I have Turtle Beaches, but they only ever cost me like
but he's got the
30. But to be fair, it's a model that like you can't really find anymore.
Yeah, he's got
I had gotten them because Tomas from Fallon, remember Tomas, big guy? Yeah. He had suggested them to me because he said I've had them for 3 years and I've not had a single issue. Yeah. And I've had them straight up for 4 years. They're still gold.
Yeah, I had this. Well, the PS5, I had to switch out my headset to it's called Arctic Steels, and they're pretty good right now. But yeah, like Pernesco ended up doing like because he had to do like a 2-hour order because Pernesco was like, me and David will ship in and get him a headset. Can you give him access to your Plus? And then I gave him some games to play so we could play. And till to this day, Dakota's still in tears because he's like, dude, no one's ever bought me a console. I've never had a console. I'm like, well, there you go, bro. And he was like, dude, he's like, you're an asshole, but you're a great asshole.
You're an asshole.
Totally.
And then to wrap it up, for me, it will be the Switch.
Ooh, I've got 2 more.
Switch is the last one that I've gotten, which would be memorable that I've been playing. Animal Crossing, of course. You know,
without me
happened.
Have I seen your island yet or no?
We have not gone to my island yet.
We shall do this.
We have to do that. We have to do it. I have to go back and check on my island.
I will help you. I'll help you clean it up. But I mean, like,
listen, I haven't even terraformed yet. I've literally been playing this game forever, and I have not done a single terraform.
Oh, my island's kind of.
My island's covered in flowers.
I mean,
straight up. I just let the flowers do what they wanted, and next thing I knew, it is covered.
Surprisingly, people said my island is pretty like it's unique because they're like, I would have never expected this from you. I'm like, really? And they're like, You're pretty interesting.
One day we'll sit down and I'll be like, help me figure out what to do with my island.
I still don't know what the hell I'm doing with mine.
Octopath Traveler, which I still love to death. I'm still not done with it because there's so many paths. There's literally 8 characters you can start the game as. So it's ridiculous. But it's really good. Good voice acting, great music. Cozy Grove is a game that I'm addicted to right now. Kind of like Animal Crossing, but with ghost bears. And it's
I really need
cute.
to play that one because you were like, oh, you got to see this. And I'm like, oh.
I like it because it's very relaxing. It's one of those games where you can play and you don't have to feel forced to play it every day or do things all the time. It's just, I can zone out to it and I feel good, which is a great game for when I need to zen. When I'm stressed and I'm just like freaking out and things like that. It's a good zen game. There's Paper Mario Origami King, Hades, love Hades. Tales of Vesperia, which again, this is a game that I played on Switch because it came out for Switch and PS4 like a few years, like 2 or 3 years back, but for the first time because it had been originally exclusive for the Xbox. So if I didn't have, so this was back when my brother had one, but I didn't want to buy an Xbox just to play this. Like he would have let me use his, but I was in college, so I didn't really have a lot of time to come home and play on his Xbox, and he was playing it all the time, so I didn't want to bother him.
Yeah.
So this is the one, like, again, this is like that Vita exclusive, but this was a 360 exclusive. But then they finally made it for PS4 and Switch, and I got it for Switch because I got it cheaper for Switch at the time. And Xenoblade Chronicles, this is the first time I've played it. I knew it came out for like Wii, and it was like a super great game, but I'd never been able to play it before. And then they did the definitive edition for Switch, and I was like, you know what? I've got like some coupons for some extra dollars off on Amazon. Sure. So I ended up buying it for like $23 when it went on sale for like $40. I had a $20 off thing. I used it on that, and I was like, yeah, okay. It's really good, actually. I'm surprised. I have to agree with people.
What else did I miss? My next console was the Wii U. I got it because I really was craving Mario Kart one night, and I had some extra cash laying around. Not a bad buy, and I ended up getting rid of the console like a month later to somebody at Universal, and they took it, and it's in good hands now. So,
oh my god,
I got back what I put into it, but and to get Mario Kart 8, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, and then Super Mario All Stars. And those are like the top ones I looked at. I'm like, I really want a Wii U, and I loved it. Trust me. I had a projector at the time, so it was a 100-inch screen on the wall. So Mario Kart was the shit when you have all your friends and they have their own huge thing to look at. And my last one is the Nintendo Switch. That was Delmarie kind of laughed at me because she's like, "Oh, you finally got one, idiot."
I did kind of laugh at you, yes.
I mean, because you got one because you work for GameStop, so you get it for like a deal.
I did get it for a deal, and it was because it was used. Because if it had been a new console, there was no discount on that whatsoever.
I mean, I do use my Switch like daily now. I take it to work, and it's a good system to sit down and just be like play. And I like playing all the old nostalgia stuff because like right now I'm playing Mario Kart 8, Animal Crossing, obviously because like everybody was into that. Dakota bought that for me because I bought him I said, hey, I'll get the sad thing about the Switch is I did get ripped off only by $100. You really couldn't get one, and everybody's like, "Oh, get the light." I'm like, why would I get a light when I got a flat screen and I want to play it on a big TV, and have that console feel? So, and then everybody I know actually went back to the original Switch because they like how it feels. You could pick it up and just take it with you.
Yeah,
which I wanted. But that was pretty much it. And I guess that's it for me.
Yeah, same here.
I mean,
it was a good run. We had a good talk.
Yeah, I can't complain. We do have to wrap it up here, guys. It has been a wild run. I know Dell had a better list than I.
Nah, I just had a little more consoles because I went a little crazy.
I mean, it is what it is, but she'll send me stuff. We hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for everybody for clicking that like button, that play button, stuff like that. We really, really appreciate it. We'll be definitely hitting some more things. I think our next one is definitely going to be the Marvel and comic book stuff. Forgive us because we're going to do a lot of studying and stuff like that.
Yes.
Because
I mean, I don't have to do as much studying, but I do have to catch up on some stuff, and I have to remember my characters that I enjoyed and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, you're
Because there is a lot of what we call, well, what Marvel calls the what ifs, basically. A lot of
yeah,
those kind of like
a lot of the variants and
side
rabbit
stories
holes.
and things like that. So we have to kind of go up on that.
Yeah, I need to sit down and watch some of the animated series again, which is my bread and butter. But like I said, I wish I was in the comics as much, but it's money. That's why I don't get in the comics as much as I can because I have friends that are into it. They say, hey, be careful. Please be careful.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I listen to them and they say, hey. But thank you guys. We really appreciate it. We do got to get going on this one, but hope to see you on the next one. And
Don't stay up too late, guys.
yeah, be safe. Have a good one.